what's your take on The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham as a growth investor? So people are either value investors, meaning they like to buy cheap stuff that's not growing fast, or they're growth investors. They buy expensive stuff that's growing fast. And so Warren Buffett and the author of The Intelligent Investor, meaning Graham and Dodd, are value investors. They're not growth investors. So as a value investor, if you read that book, it's a good book. I've read it. And when Warren Buffett taught, he came and taught one of my classes in business school because he's an alumni from there as well. His wife was there. God bless her, she passed away. But his wife was teasing him because he brought that book, The Intelligent Investor, with him on their honeymoon. Right? He's so passionate about it. But to be intellectually honest, the book is a little bit slow. It's slow. Like if you're going to read it first thing in the morning when you're fresh. Yeah. But it will teach you the basics of value investing. But as a growth investor for you, I don't know if it's going to be help that much, but it will help you to the extent that you understand how other investors think, meaning value investors. And one thing we have to understand is that all great growth stocks eventually become a value stock. They transition because they can't grow anymore. And they can't grow because they just get too big. It's not their fault. It's like the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy is close to a third of global revenue for the world, meaning global GDP. And as a result, doesn't grow very fast. It's just the law of large numbers. So eventually, every company that is a growth company growing fast slows growth. And they lose all the growth investors. And they transition over to value. And never invest in a company that is transitioning from growth to value investors, because it's in what I refer to as investment purgatory. It's no man's land. And it usually takes about a decade for a company, after it stopped growing, to lose all the growth investors and eventually become a value investment. And what can expedite that movement from growth to value, meaning what can truncate the 10 years of investment purgatory to a couple of years or less, is if private equity investors get involved. That can be the catalyst for change. And sometimes you'll see people, brilliant people, like Carl Icahn, who's an activist private equity investor, buy a big stake in a company that's stuck in no man's land, in investment purgatory, and make changes quickly to make it unlock shareholder value, because you're either a value investor or a growth investor. Great example of this is when Carl Icahn, he bought a massive stake in eBay, and he muscled his way onto the board. You can get a board seat if you own a big part of a company. And he forced the management team to turn over. And I remember John Donahoe left around that time. And John Donahoe was that brilliant ex-Bain consultant who was the CEO of eBay for years. I like him a lot. Every time I would meet with him, because I was an investor in eBay years ago, he's like a million feet tall, big guy. But what Carl Icahn did was he forced the company to change, and he forced a lot of executives to leave. And basically, he split the company into two. Why? Because before eBay spun off PayPal, before that, eBay was kind of thought of as a value stock, because the marketplace auction business has, good visibility from a revenue perspective. It's counter-cyclical because in awful economic environments, people sell more used stuff, but it wasn't growing. And the other part of eBay's business was PayPal, which was growing like a weed. And so investors that were growth investors didn't want to buy eBay because it's kind of that slow growth value investment side to it, meaning eBay marketplace auctions. And by contrast, value investors didn't want to buy eBay because it wasn't cheap enough yet because of that expensive high growth component PayPal. And so what happened was, in order to truncate that investment purgatory from 10 years to just a couple of years, what happened was private equity investor activist Carl Icahn forced the company to split into two. And so value investors got to buy eBay, right, the marketplace business, and growth investors got to buy PayPal, and that unlocked shareholder value. Yeah. So, but just make sure you never invest in a company that you're not sure if growth investors want to buy it or value investors. If it's stuck in the middle, that purgatory period can last 10 years. Yeah. And it can be dead money for a while.